So here we are again, talking once more about right-handed defenseman targets for the Detroit Red Wings. We've already made our fair share of videos talking about Justin Faulk of the St. Louis Blues, and whether or not this South St. Paul, Minnesota, USA native could be a reasonable target for the Red Wings. He's 33 years old, 6 feet, 216, a right-handed guy whose contract expires next season at $6.5 million a year. Justin Faulk used to be an offensive stud for the Hurricanes. Now he's taken his talents over to the Blues, where he is, still, an offensive stud. 23 points, 50 games played this season, on pace for 38 points over a full 82. That would make him a very reasonable bet for any team if St. Louis were to decide to fully sell on him. Offensive capability, he can run a power play. Maybe not the best defensively, but that's not the bread and butter reason you get him. And for a Detroit Red Wings squad that has been labeled by various posts on social media as to needing right-handed defensemen, you have seen the link establish itself between Faulk and the Red Wings. In fact, there were a bunch of articles written by Max Plante on The Athletic linking Faulk over to Detroit, but today's source comes to us from ClutchPoints.com, because you had writer Tristan McKinstry going out there and proposing a package for one St. Louis Blues, Justin Faulk. I'll leave a link in the description to this article, but what I like about it is it includes some of the excerpts from what Max Plante was writing about this year. The Red Wings are near the top of the Eastern Conference midway through January, and at this point, it would take an epic collapse for Detroit to miss the playoffs. This is a team that's quite familiar with collapsing in the months of February and March. However, they have been able to avoid extended stretches of poor play for the most part this year. The Red Wings are an imperfect team, and the 2026 trade deadline provides an opportunity for them to add some much-needed reinforcements. GM Stevie Y has been reluctant to be aggressive at the deadline in years past. However, that could certainly change this season. One potential move that was recently floated was a trade for St. Louis Blues D-man Justin Faulk. The veteran rearguard is signed through the end of next season, making him more than a rental. The Athletic's Max Plante was a fan of this move, as he wrote about recently. Faulk is still productive, has an extra year in his contract, so he's not just a rental, and could provide more support for Albert Johansson. Plus, he would be a playoff-ready second-pair option, so Detroit can shelter Axel Sandin Pellikka a bit if the Wings want to make the postseason. Now, with that idea floated, let's take a look at what this offer looks like. In this scenario, as proposed by the article, the Red Wings would acquire Justin Faulk from the Blues with no salary retention. So, a full $6.5 million AAV getting attached to the deal. Heading back over to the St. Louis Blues would be Max Plante, a conditional 2026 second, and an unconditional 2028 fourth. If the Red Wings won a playoff series this year and Faulk played in 50% of the games, the second rounder would become a 2026 first. Now, this is a very intriguing trade package, and it's one that I know a lot of Red Wings fans might instinctually bite at and say, hell no, we don't want to give up Max Plante. Why would we do that? He's the top scorer in the NCAA. There's a lot to like out of this guy. And from that perspective, I honestly would agree. Here's the thing. I can understand the argument that says, hey, the St. Louis Blues would be interested in getting youth. They want young guys, they want picks, they want prospects. That's the direction they're heading down if they make a move for Justin Faulk. And Max Plante, while it's true he's decently valuable, he's not like the number one prospect in the Red Wings system right now. As good as he is, there are other guys that you could argue have more, let's just say for the sake of argument, trade value. Plante was a second-rounder 2 seasons ago, and this season he's got 38 points in 24 games for the University of Minnesota Duluth. He's really good, but a weak World Junior Showcase would bring his value down in other NHL GMs' eyes, and the fact that he just hasn't really been this good before. I mean, last season he was over a point per game as well, but at the same time, you can say that there are a number of other guys that also were able to produce over point-per-game numbers in the NCAA as an 18-year-old. I mean, just go over here to the ages and go to U19. Max Plante was not near the very top. He was 7th. Yes, it's true that guys like Michael Hage and James Hagens and Cole Yzerman were all top picks and they all have a ton of value, but I could understand if Max Plante isn't seen as one of these top-tier first-round caliber guys, at least not yet. Now, that is not to totally crap on the guy. I mean, I'm going out there and saying that I think that he probably should stay a Red Wing too. But if Steve Yzerman really were to trade away somebody like Max Plante, I do think that it would be for a reasonable kind of player or asset coming back. Somebody proven, somebody that can provide immediate value. Take the supposed value you'd get out of Max Plante in his future development and allocate it to the now, which is exactly what you'd be doing with Justin Faulk. If Stevie Y trades somebody away, I honestly do think he's got a reason to do it, and I think that sort of mentality has lent itself well to Stevie Y the past few years, with a lot of Red Wings fans trying not to question the moves that he makes and the philosophies behind it. Although there are still some ones that sting a lot more. Like, let's not bring up Jake Wallman, right? Then you talk about the draft picks. The thing is, I'd say that Justin Faulk probably isn't going to go for just a first by himself. I think the Blues would want a little bit more than that. So Max Plante, a conditional second, and an unconditional fourth, that seems like a pretty okay ask, if I'm going to be honest, especially if that second round pick stays as a second. The idea here that if the Wings won a playoff series and Faulk was in 50% of the games, the second rounder would become a first rounder. You could say that for Detroit's sake, it's not the best idea to start trading away draft picks, but this is a team that has traded away pretty much no first round draft picks in the past few years. They've kept them all, they've used them, they've acquired more draft picks, and they've made a lot of really good selections, and now they are starting to be competitive. Now the Red Wings are in a pretty good spot in the Atlantic Division. They are second behind Tampa Bay. In terms of NHL standings, they are right there. They're a top 6 team in the league. The Red Wings are doing well. And so, would it not be reasonable to say, hey, this is the reward for this kind of result this season so far? A player like Justin Faulk, who is not a rental, but a legitimate upgrade on what the team has right now, and a player who can play again next year. Sure, if it costs a Max Plante, I do think that stings a lot for Red Wings fans, but I'm thinking about it like, hey, at least it wouldn't cost a Michael Brandsegg-Newgard. At least it's not costing a Nate Danielson, and that's not even to poo-poo on Max Plante and whatever it is he's going to become. It's just value-wise, I think the Wings have other prospects that would be reasonably more valuable. So if you disagree, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this trade package for Justin Faulk? A guy like Max Plante, second round pick that could turn into first, and then a fourth round pick as well. Do you think this makes sense? Do you not? Let me know in the comments why or why not. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.